Now, for some time, South Korea and Japan have not enjoyed the best bilateral relationship due to a number of historical disputes. In 2018, South Korea's courts ruled in favor of victims of Japanese wartime forced labor, saying that they must be compensated by the Japanese government. However, Tokyo has denied responsibility. Instead, the Japanese government decided to retaliate, hurting South Korea's trade with Japan. That said, with a new administration in power now, Seoul is making an effort to improve the relationship. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs met with representatives of the victims in South Korea's southwestern city of Gwangju. So is progress being made, and is the relationship headed in the right direction? We connect with Professor KIM Jae-chun, the Dean of Sogang GSIS. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning to you, too.
Now, while this issue can be approached diplomatically, the core problem lies with the country's courts, right? How much power does the government have in ensuring the current compensation issue is solved?
Well, in principle, the executive branch doesn't have any power over the court. Judiciary branch, because South Korea is a democratic country, and there is this principle of separation of power. And the final verdict is out. The verdict of the Korean court, Supreme Court, is that Japanese companies would have to compensate the victims of forced labor. Otherwise, their assets in Korea would be seized. And the date of seizure is approaching. And if this happens, it's going to do irreparable damage to Korea-Japan relations, which experienced difficulties in recent years. So South Korean government is thinking, hey, we can be a little bit creative here. There is this foundation that was created in, I think it was 2014, to support the victims of forced labor. I don't remember the name of the foundation, but Japan and Korea sort of co-founded this foundation, and maybe both countries can donate money to that foundation, and with that donation money, that foundation can compensate the victims, not Japanese companies. So I think that's the solution that both countries are working on as of now.
Right, but when we think of those numbers, I think it was, I can't recall the exact number, it was 100,000 per victim, but with not many alive at the moment, the Japanese government and the companies could certainly afford the amount of the sums being discussed at the moment and is requested by the courts. What's stopping them from paying the money?
Well, we all know that it's the money. Money is not the issue here. When the two companies, when the two countries normalized diplomatic relations in 1965, South Korea did receive a handsome amount of compensation money from Japan, and that money was to compensate the harm that Japan did to Korea during the colonial period. So Japan believes that compensation money already covered the victims of forced labor, but South Korean court, the court's decision was that, well, there was, a country-to-country deal. What about the individual victims of forced labor? So South Korean court decision was that those responsible Japanese companies would have to compensate the individuals directly. And Japan is thinking that's not fair. So they want to take the issue to the International Arbitration Court. So there are some legal issues here, and how both countries interpret 1965 and the recent South Korean court decisions. They interpret these decisions very differently.
Right, and like you said, it's a complicated legal matter, but at the moment, due to the recent escalating tensions on the peninsula, the relationship between Seoul and Tokyo seems vital to ensure stability in the region. Do you see this historical issue getting in the way of things for the two countries, or will the two governments be able to put this aside for now until the compensation issue is solved in order to deal with the way North Korea has been acting recently?
Well, we all know that the history issue has gotten in the way particularly during the previous administration in South Korea. That decision to nullify comfort women agreement really soured the relationship between the two countries. Interesting thing is that before that incident, nullification of the comfort women agreement, it was South Korea that was on the offensive. Japan was on the defensive. Now it's the other way around. In recent years, Japan has been on the offensive. South Korea was on the defensive. And recently, after President Yoon came into the office, it's South Korea that has been saying that, well, hey, we gotta man fences before it gets too late. And Japan has been saying, well, it's not going to happen until you come up with the creative solutions to the forced labor issue, compensation issue. And Yoon Suk-yeol government has been very proactive in approaching Japan, and Kishida government has been a little bit hesitant, but as you said, escalating North Korean threats and provocations, all these tests, I think they are bringing two countries together, and that urgent need to cooperate more closely for security reasons. I think it is bringing two countries together, and still that compensation issue is a very sticky issue. You cannot put this aside forever. So I think two countries will have to come to terms with it. We will have to resolve this issue sooner than later.
That's right, and hopefully the victims are taken care of in the right fashion. Well, thank you so much. We can talk about this for hours with Professor, but I hope you have a great day.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.